Hello, and welcome to another Scoresheet podcast. I'm happy to say that after a long 3-week absence, we have Todd Zola of mastersball.com back with us. How are you, Todd?
I'm doing well, Jeff. It hasn't it was 3 years last time. It was 3 weeks. So this means we're going to talk in 3 days.
Maybe. You're certainly one of the people I enjoy talking with.
All right. Well, I'm going to be in the D.C. area in New York. We're doing we're friends because of the Arizona first pitch. I'm going to be the spring tour. So in 3 days, you're going to have to catch me on the road. So we're just kidding. It'll be another 3 weeks before we talk again. But I'll be in the cheap plug for Washington, New York, Boston for the first pitch forums this weekend.
The ones that bbhq.com puts on, baseballhq.com.
Yep, with our friend Ron Chandler.
Yeah, I miss Ron. If he was on the West Coast, I could see him more. Yeah, those first pitch forums are good, though. I really like the Arizona thing where you just stay in the same place for 3-4 days and get to watch games and just learn a ton of stuff.
Yeah, and I think they announced November 1st to the 3rd next year. So mark thy calendars already. They've already booked it. But we go. They just were in St. Louis and Chicago over last weekend, and we're doing Boston, Washington D.C., Baltimore area, New York, New Jersey area Saturday, and back in my backyard in Boston on Sunday. So 3 hours of fantasy baseball goodness.
Well, it's baseball time. We're actually supposed to get at my house in the foothills like 2 feet of snow in the next 2 days. So it doesn't really feel like baseball here. In California, in the foothills, it's supposed to be baseball weather by March, but not. Let's see. So speaking of baseball, you and I for years have talked a little about this general draft strategy of how much extra you should give a guy a bump because he plays a so-called scarce position, like say second base or shortstop, as opposed to drafting a first baseman. And I think I've always come down on I do it too much. I'll take guys, in the first round just because I think they're the only good second baseman. And you've always kind of been more like, if this guy can pound the ball, but he's a first baseman, I'll still take him. So you have a little more specific thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're wrong.
Thank you.
You're right about what we're talking about. Here's the deal. And now, you know what? I've been yakking about this for years. I'm seeing right now people are now coming to the conclusion that position scarcity isn't important anymore. I concluded that. This isn't really my style to pat my own back, but I basically concluded this 10 years ago, and it hasn't changed. There's a couple of different ways to look at it. There's a mathematical, nerdy, theoretical way where you compare the replacement level players at each position, and you find out that just the way that the baseball has evolved with multiple position eligibility and fantasy where you need a middle, a corner, and a utility. And just the fact that there's just fewer hitters in the league now, the teams are carrying 13 pitchers, sometimes 14 during the course of the season, that players are playing more positions. The back-end players are the same, and that's how you judge them, is against the back-end player. So from a nerdy point of view, scarcity doesn't exist. But from a practical point of view, okay, you and I, we're going to make out our list for an AL League or an NL League or a mixed league. Our last 50 names are going to be completely different. We're going to have some overlap, but we're going to like guys differently at the end. So even if scarcity did exist, I don't know that I'd worry too much about it, because there's going to be a second baseman or a shortstop that I like that no one else does, or are willing to pay for that no one else is willing to pay for. So I'm going to get my guy. If you look at any auction, labor auctions are coming up this weekend. Count the number of $1 players that are purchased. There are far more $1, $2, and $3 players purchased than are given that value by any black box that does valuation. There's just going to be a ton of players that you like. So from a practical and, put on the, pointy glasses point of view, I've found it's just not worth worrying about scarcity. I don't want to give up stats. I don't want to leave an outfielder that's going to do better than a second baseman on the table because I'm giving up stats, and I'm not going to lose stats at the end. At least I don't think I am.
Yeah, well, I have noticed the last few years that the problem with my strategy is when you get to, say, the 11th round of a draft and you're looking for your starting right fielder, there's no decent outfielders left. And the second baseman left, there are no decent second basemen either. But it's not, like you said, it's just not a big difference. There's not 1,000 outfielders out there that are all going to hit 30 home runs.
Now here is the counter, and it's a viable counter, and I will. To me, this is why the tie goes to the scarcer player. In the season, once you're looking for, I talk about the replacement player is the same during draft day, but once the season begins, more outfielders emerge as replacements than middle infielders.
Right.
So on draft day, they all look the same. But in the season, it's hard. But on the other hand, listen, if you're taking Brian Dozier over, I don't want to use AJ Pollock because he's injured, over Marcell Ozuna, because of scarcity, doesn't matter which one gets hurt, you're in trouble. You're not going to replace either. You're not replacing either guy. At least you're going to hope that everybody in the league gets a couple of injuries and that sort of washes. But the point being, some people you take. So I'm going to take Dozier because you know what, somebody's going to emerge to replace Marcell Ozuna, whereas there's a better chance of that than someone to emerge to replace Brian Dozier.
So if two guys are close, like if I take Arenado because I had the first or second pick instead of Harper, because third base is a little, if I consider them about tied, but if it's a big difference in stats, I shouldn't reach and take the third best second baseman instead of the third best first baseman, because if I think the third best first baseman is going to just plain hit a lot better.
Well, if we're in the same league, you should. If we're in different. Have we ever? I don't know that we've ever. I think we've done maybe a common draft at the first pitch we talked about for show or a mock. I don't think we've ever been in a league together, have we?
I did that one draft up on the stage. I can't remember who I took in the second round. Some pitcher, and I think for 3 years you talked to me about that pick.
It was Adam Wainwright, who it was.
Yeah, Wainwright. Yeah. Well, anyway. And you were of course right, but those things up on the stage, you draft 3 rounds. It's an excuse to talk about who you pick, not necessarily try to win a league. That was my excuse. Yeah. Well, since you're not in my league, I'm in a 10-keeper NL, and I have Kettle Marte and Dansby Swanson. And it's hard to keep 2 shortstops when you can only keep 10 keepers, because I have a pretty good team. Mm-hmm. So do you have a feeling over one or the other, or should I just bite the bullet and keep them both?
Do you have a needs thing? Or if you need, well, there's a couple people listening to this sort of chuckling now because you asked about Kettle Marte. Because I'm kind of it used to be Cole Calhoun, now it's Kettle Marte is kind of my guy. A couple of years ago I was high on Marte, and he didn't materialize, and this, that, the other thing. I actually, if you need speed, and I'm not the only one now, people are talking about Marte. I hate the word sleeper, but as someone who could surprise, especially with the humidor now. Everybody's talking about how it's going to hurt offense, and it's going to, but sort of the kind of, the push me, pull me, the teeter-totter effect of that is Arizona's probably going to run more. The Rockies ran more when they first put the humidor in. So even in that park, the team ran more. They've got Pollock, they've got Marte, Peralta can run a little bit, Goldschmidt obviously. But if Marte loses a little bit in batting average, which he may or may not, because the exit velocity off of his bat might not matter as much as a Goldschmidt or a Lamb. A long story short is, people are going to laugh, but I'm going to keep Marte because he's got some steals in there. Swanson's nice, but I want the upside. If there's no cost to it, I want to take this. Marte's got much bigger upside, and I don't think the floor is that different.
And then, Swanson was the number 1 overall pick in Major League Baseball just 3-4 years ago, but and I always kind of like these post-type prospects types. Those guys
absolutely
kind of have won all of us a lot of leagues over the years. But, I'm toying with keeping them both. But then I have to cut like Will Myers. I
don't know that I would do that.
That's what I mean. I'm kind of down to those are the 3 guys from my last 2 spots. And Myers is another kind of – he started out slow, and then he's had some pretty decent years.
Absolutely. He's going to have dual eligibility this year because of signing Eric Hosmer. He's going to go to first base and outfield. Remember, you know this too. You follow baseball, not just fantasy baseball. Actually, I can even do a score sheet analogy. Swanson's better in score sheet than he is in fantasy because of the defense.
Right.
He was a top of prospect. Not that, I mean, defense matters more. It's not. I mean, it matters in score sheet. It doesn't matter as much as some people may want it to for whatever. But there's defensive ratings. Absolutely, there are. And part of his prospect allure was he's really slick with the glove. So if you looked at a Baseball America prospect ranking, he was going to be a lot higher than a Baseball HQ one, which is more of a fantasy site. So that's part of the thing with Swanson, the number one pick. He was drafted for his glove as much as anything. And he's not getting a lot of love in rotisserie drafts right now. Marte's actually being picked higher. I mean, he's got a floor, but he's not being drafted in mixed leagues. So, I know NL only, but Marte's got the upside.
I mean, Swanson, his OPS last year was about 620. So,
yeah,
the people in leagues that look at last year's stats, no one's really getting excited about him. I mean, I just kind of hate to cut him and then have him turn out to be the next Francisco Lindor or something. But that's always
not
a risk.
Going to happen. Yeah, he may become the next. I don't know what he'll become. I mean, I would say Zach Cozart, but I wouldn't. I don't think next year we're going to be cursing me out because I convinced you to stay with Marte over Swanson.
Okay, and then the same with Myers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Keep him over Swanson.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, if they had the draft again today from 4 years ago, Swanson would not be anywhere near the number one pick, would he?
I don't think so. I'm not a draft Nick. I can't remember these things, but probably. I'm listening. He's only 24. He's going to be better than he is right now. Right. But I mean, if his ceiling is 12 homers and 10 steals, I mean, in today's game, that's just not a whole lot.
No, that's not going to do it for him. Well, you know what? When we started Score Sheet 30 years ago, 24-year-olds were still playing in Double-A ball. And nowadays, if you're really good, it seems like you're in the majors by the time you're 22.
22? Look at Ronald Acuna.
Yeah, I mean, there are guys that are 19. But
silly.
If you're still in the minors at 24, 25, it's not a particularly great sign.
No, yeah, the whole age to level when evaluating prospects is huge. At what age did you do it at? And the minors, when we do our MLEs, a major league equivalent, when we do projections, you get penalized. A 24-year-older gets penalized for being in the minor leagues at that age. At this point, I don't think Wade Boggs came up till he's 25 or 26. So you're right. There are a lot of players that just had a little bit longer of a time. Guys like Swanson, though, whose glove is pretty slick, I think if anything, we will see his batting average grow. I think that these slick fielders, the hand-eye coordination, eventually translate to contact. And, the first step of becoming a better hitter is making better contact. His strikeout rate's a little over 20%. That's kind of high for his profile. So he gets that down to the teens. And now let's talk.
Yeah, no, the one thing about having a good glove at shortstop is you're not going to get sent to the minors just because you hit 220.
Yeah.
You're liable to stick around. Whereas if you're a left fielder hitting 220, you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, yep, or get traded to Kansas City.
Yeah. Well, or I don't know, I guess Florida.
Or I should say Miami.
If Miami needs some outfield. They got a pretty good haul for Yelich, I thought, because I'm really big on Brinson. But the stuff they got for Stanton and Ozuna, it's like, really? I mean...
it's all relative too. You were trading away Stanton's contract. You were trading away. With Yelich, you were trading away a player under control. So you can't look at it player, talent for talent. You have to, when you attach the contract. It's not surprising to me. I mean, Stanton was just getting rid of salary.
Right, that one. But Ozuna's a pretty good player. They didn't.
Oh, absolutely. But Yelich had 3 years of control and everything else. I think you could. Ozuna's wasn't terrible. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what Miami does. To me, what they did, they took was it Alcantara they got for Ozuna? That's kind of like a dart throw. He could be a number one starter, or we could talking about making him into a reliever, a setup reliever. So they kind of shot the moon on the Ozuna trade. Maybe we got an ace. Maybe we got ourselves some bullpen help. I think that was different strokes for different folks, right?
He's a pretty good player to get a maybe from. I mean, they're not the worst team. The A's roster, we do root leagues now in Score Sheet where you, like the first 4 rounds of the draft, you can only pick from your own major league team.
Yeah.
And I think the guy that helps me out some, his first pick was something like Pettit, who's probably not the best player on the A's. But it's not like it was a laugh, because if you have to pick 4 A's in the first 4 rounds, you're pretty much picking 4 guys that would go in the 10th or 12th or 15th round in a real draft.
Yeah, I guess you have to try to figure out what positions are still. Well, do you want to take Marcus Semien, or are you going to take a shortstop when you pass round 5? And in score sheet with Pettit, you can use his splits better. Then put him in with the mental block, the length the pitcher can stay in the game. Hook, you can adjust your hooks to better take advantage of a guy like Pettit.
Right.
But
well, I don't really think Pettit's probably not the best player in the A's, but still, there's Manaea, like you said, Simeon, Matt Joyce. I mean, these are all guys that are not going.
You got Matt Olson, Matt Chapman too. You're going to take Chris Davis, aren't you?
Yeah, he went. I think took him second. It doesn't much matter because in the first 4 rounds, you're the only one that could take A's. So you could take the 4th best one first. But I was just thinking of Miami. People are saying they're going to have the worst team in baseball. After looking at the A's roster, it's going to be hard to finish behind the A's.
I think the A's will be better than both the Royals and the Dolphins and the Marlins. The Royals are just pitiful. And I know they signed Duda, but the Royals and the Tigers they're just terrible. The A's aren't. I mean, we just Chapman, Olson, Piscotty, Moss, Dustin Fowler. They're going to hit.
Yeah, they do have some at least young guys as opposed to old.
They built a pretty darn. It's not the Yankees bullpen, but you mentioned Pettit. They got some arms. I think the A's are going to be okay. I don't know if they're going to be a horribly fun team to watch, but Cotton and Manaea. I had completely missed. I just happened to profile Manaea. I completely missed the whole ADD diagnosis with the prescription medication. Maybe I need to get some of this. That he lost 25 pounds. Of course, I need to lose 250 pounds, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, it's a start.
He lost 25 pounds because he lost his appetite with the prescription, and he felt that contributed to his second half swoon, and he thinks that's under control now. But you've got Cotton, who's got one of the best changeups in the league. Some people are on Daniel Mengden. I'm flighty on that one. But between Cotton and Manaea, I think you've got a good start on the front end of the rotation. So I don't know. The A's, I'll be paying attention to the A's.
All right. Well, I stand corrected. You mentioned Duda. I'm one of these guys. Couldn't he have signed for $1 million a year less with a team that might compete and be fun to play on? I mean, I guess I've never made $5 million a year, but if you're going to make $4 or $5 million a year, is it worth signing for $6 million a year and being on a team that by July you wish the season was over?
What team? I don't think the teams are out there. The short end. Well, listen, for us, yeah, I think so. I had a little Twitter back and forth today. Someone felt that with Gurriel getting hurt, Houston should have signed him, and the reason being, let's play for a winner. Houston doesn't need him. They've got Tyler White and A.J. Reed, and they can put Marwin Gonzalez at first and use Marisnik. No. They don't need him. What team? Baltimore. Is
that it? There's just no team that's going to be in the hunt that needs a first baseman, really.
DH. Because Dude is one of those guys that, if you look at the underlying stats, the WOBA and the WRC plus, he's a really, really good hitter, especially if you use him properly. So I don't know the details of the contract. Was it a 1 year, 2 year? Was it a pillow contract, or was it a multi-year?
I'll be wrong if I guess. I thought it was 2 years.
Maybe it is, but that's still fairly short.
Yeah.
But it's not the greatest place for him to play either, as far as power goes.
No, this doesn't have much of an upside unless he thinks he'll get traded. Obviously, if a contender has their first baseman get hurt, I'm sure Kansas City will be willing to trade anybody.
Or DH, all it takes is a DH too. He could play either position. So yeah, I am a little surprised. I'm surprised that Adam Lind is still available. Logan Morrison went to the Twins. If I were maybe there's your team. If I was Duda, I would rather gone to the Twins because they do have a shot at least at a wild card.
Yeah, they at least won't be out of it. I don't think by July they'll be having fun playing Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good players still out there.
Brandon Phillips, Neil Walker for second base. We're just kind of looking at Jonathan LaCroix still. Obviously, Jake Arrieta, Lance Lynn, Alex Cobb.
Yeah,
So
those are.
it's
I mean, you could put together a playoff contending team with the free agents, no problem.
well, a couple of weeks ago maybe, but no, that's the point. Yeah, it's just it's getting silly, and those of us that do playing time and that sort of thing, mostly most of the people they're okay because they're not drafting till end of March or whatever, but once some of these players sign, it's not just their own team. I have to adjust Kansas City's playing time because of Duda. It's now all right. Well, that's less of a chance that such and so team gets this player, so I have to start giving Chesler Cuthbert more time at third base and all these other things. So there's a whole lot of domino effects when this whole
Yeah. I
people
mean,
sign.
someone's going to sign Neil Walker, and then someone that, was slotted in as a starting second baseman is going to now be semi-useless.
Right. And say he doesn't go to Detroit. That's more of a chance that Dixon Mikado actually plays second base for them. I still think it'll be Walker or Phillips or somebody, but if those two sign elsewhere, not only do I have to fix those teams, I now have to say, well, you know what? It is going to be Dixon Machado. Every third baseman that signs is less of a chance that Kansas City signs, that Chesler Cuthbert is their third baseman. We didn't even mention Moustakas yet.
Yeah,
he's still out there.
It's incredible. He's still out there,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Well, LaCroix, remember, was just like 2 years ago, everybody was saying how valuable he was. And, as bad, the catcher pool is pretty thin.
This time last year, LaCroix was my number one catcher. I mean, listen, I've been, saying how great I am. Well, this time last year, I really wasn't saying that. This time last year, Jonathan LaCroix was my number one catcher in fantasy baseball, and man, I'm still having crow for dinner. There's still enough of it in my freezer that every week I get to defrost some more crow and have that with a little egg in my face.
Yeah, we've all had that pick. I think I would have gone with Posey over LaCroix. But you weren't the only one. There were people that were talking like, he's a great thing. He's not. Catchers don't always age very well.
Well, actually, they grow, they develop power a lot, and some other things. What was weird with LaCroix, and this is just so weird, in a day and age where there's no longer shame in striking out, his contact rate, it was already good. It got better. But the hard contact fell through the floor. So he's hitting the ball more often, but he's hitting it weaker. And that's just such a weird – I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if we had learned in October or November that he was playing with a hurt thumb or, how can a catcher play with an injury? I don't know. But it wouldn't have surprised me. We still haven't heard it yet. To me, I mean, right now, if I'm LaCroix, I want to go to Baltimore. And I know he played in Texas, great park, Colorado, great park. I mean, give me a good park. Give me a chance to show that I can still play. And, they've got Cisco and, they as far as they don't have Wellington Castillo anymore. So, if I were LaCroix, I'd be all over my agent to get me into Baltimore. Well, I don't know how many more places are there for him to sign.
Be willing to take a 1-year contract because he has to be willing to bet on himself.
Absolutely.
He's got to do better than last year if he just shows up.
Yeah.
Folks, if you want to read a whole bunch of articles and get analysis and all that, Mastersball, MastersBall.com. You can. The nice thing about Todd is not only does he write lots of analysis and does playing time and all, but he also plays score sheet. So if you're a score sheet player and you have a question that's score sheet specific, and you don't really want to know how many steals D. Gordon's going to have, but you want to know who's going to have the best on-base percentage or some such question, Todd understands the score sheet context and will give you a score sheet specific answer.
Yeah, just don't ask me about my pitching staff for my keeper league. We have a 24-team mix. It's a 10 keeper soft. I only kept 8, so because my pitching was terrible and I wasn't going to keep platoon outfielders. I think it's Waka, Miles Mikolas. Oh man, I don't remember at this point. But when Waka is your ace, and I think it's Kyle Gibson. So I like my hitting. But the best thing I can say about my pitching is I like my hitting.
Yeah, the problem with pitching is it's hard to get really top pitchers because if you own Scherzer or Kershaw or somebody, you're really not going to trade them unless you get a Trout or a Harper back. You're not going to trade Scherzer for 3 mediocre infielders. or something.
Yeah, yeah. And I inherited this team several years ago. It was a pretty good team, so I was in go for it mode. So the way to get pitching in score sheet or any position is to use that. You're more familiar with the actual round numbers, but the draft, the supplemental draft that occurs right after the entry draft in July or June is when you draft the rookies. They're not rookies; they're about to become minor, in prospects and systems. That's when you have to draft these. Sure, players emerge, but you have to draft. We talked about Swanson being the number one pick. You would be drafting Dansby Swanson or this year's Dansby Swanson, the number one pick, in that June or July score sheet supplemental. I'm drafting backups because I'm competing. I'm drafting I'm trying to draft major league players.
Yeah, because you want
built up a farm system.
You want the flag that flies forever, not the I'll try to win in 4 years.
Yeah, so I have a good hitting now, and again, it's not like Roto where you just need to piece together points. No one's going to trade me Max Scherzer or going to trade me, Louis Castillo or
Chris Sale,
anybody like that. I either have to, if I'm competing, I have to give up one of my good hitters and try to get an aging starter. At this point, maybe Scherzer will fit because he's getting up there in age. If you're looking to trade for an ace, you're not going to trade for Luis Severino. You're going to try to trade for Max Scherzer because he's now getting a little bit older. So maybe you could trade a Victor Robles or Ronald Acuna for a Max Scherzer if that's what you need to do. His owner might be a little more willing at this point if he's not competing. But yeah, it's not like Roto where you can piece together a staff and maneuver the ERA with middle relievers and the whatnot. I mean, sure, you can draft a good relief core and score sheet and help pick up your fourth starter. And that's what I'm doing. I didn't draft my fifth starter. I drafted Archie Bradley as my fourth starter, as my first reliever before I got my fifth starter. So
if starters are only going to get 150 innings, and guys like Archie Bradley are going to get 75 innings as a reliever, you can maybe get 2 Archie Bradleys instead of one top starter and piece it together because that's kind of what they're starting to do in real baseball.
Yeah. So J.A. Happ was my second. I got Walker, Happ, and I know no one cares about your team but you, Gibson, and Miles McCollum, and and again 8 hitters, and Archie Bradley is my. And I don't even know if I'll use him as a closer. I will probably shorten the hook on some of these other guys and get use Bradley's innings, use up those 75, 80 innings, and we'll see how it goes. But
that's one nice thing about score sheet. You can, because saves, it's not like rotisserie where you need the saves. Right. So if you got 80 innings of a 1.79 ERA like you had last year, you want to make sure you use all 80 innings.
Yeah, to plug score sheet or a little bit more, all the time I'm asked, what categories do you like for Roto and what categories make it most like the real game? I don't want my rotisserie to be like the real game. I play score sheet for the real game. If I want to put together a lineup and manage a team, that's my score. I have a strat team and a score sheet team, and that's where I get that my Jones for that out of the way. And I don't need to. Let's use OBP, net steals, and wins plus quality starts minus law. Don't mess up my categories in Roto. Keep them the same. I get my fix. I get my managing fix in score sheet. I
mean, it's a game that has rules. It's like when you play Pinochle, you don't say, "Oh, let's put a couple bridge rules in the game to make it more realistic" or something. You play with the rules you got, and then you have to try to win under those rules. And like you said, that I can understand doing on-base percentage instead of batting average. That's pretty straightforward. Right. But you're right. When you do pitcher wins minus losses plus whatever, it starts to get no one can even figure out what they're trying to draft.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I just I enjoy both Stratomatic and the score sheet aspect of it. They're completely different games in that score sheets this year, Stratomatic's next year. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun in that regard. And I think I've talked to you about this before. We're both old school. As silly as it seems, I like Monday mornings when I get the results, and it's like looking through box scores like the olden days.
Yeah.
Right now, I promise you, one of the major sites is going to go down on opening day, and Twitter's going to blow up because they can't get their real-time stats on the first day of the year. It's just such a different world now. Whereas, it's just like that. Where's that email? I hear that little ding, ding, ding. And
Yeah.
it's not score sheet yet.
Well, when we started, it was postal mail. I mean, we're 31 years now. So people would send in on lineup on Monday, May 1st. We'd play the games on Monday, May 8th, using that lineup that showed up Thursday or Friday, using the previous week's stats. And we'd mail out the results Monday, May 8th. They'd get them like May 12th. So 11 days after you sent in a lineup, you'd finally see your lineup, how it did in games. So, yeah, email on the web, at least. And we play the games at 8 in the morning on a Monday, and at 8:30 they're up on the web.
Yeah. But, yeah, as I say, it's kind of in this world of, instant gratification, it's a nice throwback. Of course, the weeks I'm doing well, the years I'm doing well, I get a little, I want it more. The when I'm out of the playoffs, it's geez, I don't want to look at that. But it's kind of weird what some people would consider, I don't use the word flaw, but a non-enticing part of the game. For some of us older people, it reminds us of the good old days when we enjoy that. I want my real-time scoring in every other league. But in this league, it's kind of fun. I mean, it adds to the elegance of it to me.
Well, I really don't want to make lineups out every day. I mean, that's part of it. Yeah. I run the game. So we have to – well, we have a simulation. We need a week's worth of stats. Even if we really wanted to be a daily game, it would be hard. But, I'm fairly fanatical. I run a fantasy company, and we have a lot of customers that are pretty fanatical. But not all of them want to make lineups every night to try to juggle pitching or something. You make one on Friday and you tinker with it on Saturday and you send it in on Sunday, and then you can kind of relax. Or you could work on trades, not lineups, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, as always, Todd, it's been great talking to you. And once again, folks, it's mastersball.com. Todd's got some free stuff up there you can kind of get samples of, and then he's got a couple different subscription models, which are all pretty much about the cost of a cup of coffee per month. It's not, if you can buy a $4 latte, you can pay for Masters Ball and skip one latte.
I never thought of it that way. It's less than it's less than $4 a month. Well, it's the whole baseball season, but I launch in November, so it's about $5 per month if you want to look at it 8 months of the year.
Yeah, $5 these days buys like 2 supersized M&M bags or something.
There you go.
All right, well, great talking to you, Todd. And yeah, let's do it again in a few weeks.
Absolutely, my friend.
All right, thanks.